Good morning and welcome to this Tuesday edition of Inside Nigeria. Inside Nigeria is a breakfast show where we review front headline stories of some select national newspapers, including Nigeria's most foremost and influential newspaper, Leadership. Today is February 18, 2025, Tuesday, and my name is Winifred Ugbebo, your host on the program. As we normally do on the program, we'll see what leadership is leading with before we go on to other papers on our menu today. Starting with leadership, it says crisis rocks Lagos Assembly, Osun local government areas. Crisis rocks Lagos Assembly, Osun local government areas. Speaker Miranda gets confidence vote as Obasa's bid to return fails. Lawmakers seek DSS protection as local government boards for others key in Osun. Still on leadership, we move to Leadership Gold Standard Awards picture series, and today's series is on the Vice Chairman Leadership Group Limited, Mr. Mike Okpere, presenting award nomination letter to the Minister of Environment, Balarabi Abbas Lawal, as the Environmental Impact Person of the Year 2024 at the Federal Ministry of Environment in Abuja. Congratulations to the award-winning Environmental Impact Person of the Year 2024, Honorable Minister for of Environment, Balarabi Abbas Lawal. And in response to that, he says, this award is very important to me. Still on leadership newspaper, UBA Group donates $500,000 to AU Peace Fund. Invictus Games, we wanted visas for 3 officers, 21 athletes, Defense Headquarters. Of course, this one is in relation to a reaction to the story trending in media, actually from the former PG or Executive Secretary of the National Human Rights Commission, Professor Indikalu, who said that 70 soldiers were given visas or were asking for visa. The headquarters came up with the response that they wanted visas for just 3 officers and 21 athletes. The story is on page 4 of leadership. Stakeholders back widowhood leave bill as Air Force orders probe of Katsina strikes. Also developing story, Air Force orders probe of Katsina strikes. Is there one strike too many? Because there were reports that the Air Force strike actually targeted civilians, not bandits, as was supposed to. Air Force orders probe of Katsina strikes. The story runs on page 18 of leadership, and we move towards the masthead. We have concerns as cyber threats attacks soar in banking education sectors. Concerns as cyber threats attacks soar in banking education sectors. The story is on page 7 of leadership. Under the business boss of leadership, $220 million fine. No date for tribunal ruling on Meta's appeal yet. Meta is the owner of a parent company of Facebook and WhatsApp and also Instagram. The Competition and Consumer Protection Tribunal has reserved judgment in an appeal filed by Meta Platforms Incorporated, the parent company of Facebook and WhatsApp, against the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission (FCCPC). Meta is challenging a $220 million penalty imposed by the FCCPC, which accused the company of violating Nigeria's competition and data protection laws. The three-member panel, led by Justice Thomas Osun, adjourned the judgment to a later date, which will be communicated to the parties involved after hearing their oral arguments. Because it will be recalled that the FCCPC actually fined Meta, the parent company of Facebook and WhatsApp, $220 million fine. Of course, the company is also appealing that judgment. The story is on page 7 of leadership. And above the Master of Leadership Award at Leadership newspaper, we have Leadership Award Valuable Significant Governor Peter Umba, Governor of the Year 2024. With that, we move to the page 3 of the paper, where we have our stand. Today's stand is on missing police rifles. On missing police rifles. Recently, the affairs of the Nigerian police came under close scrutiny over concerns regarding 178,459 missing firearms and allegations of 1.1 billion contract 1.1 billion naira contract splitted within the force. The 2019 Auditor General's report indicated that as of December 2018, 178,459 firearms were unaccounted for, including 88,078 AK-47 rifles. Additionally, as of January 2020, at least 3,907 assorted rifles and pistols remained missing. The paragraphs today on the today's stand on missing police rifles, expressing dissatisfaction with the police response. Senator Adams Oshomole, APC Edo North, insisted that the officers responsible must be identified, arrested, and prosecuted. He said the least expected is for the force to tell Nigerians that the arms have been traced to officers who were responsible. We are of the view that these criminal elements in police uniform must be arrested and paraded, just as the police do to ordinary Nigerians. There should be no two sets of laws in this country. Police must account for them, and those responsible must face the law. These are excerpts from today's stand on Leadership newspaper on missing police rifles. It's on that note we move to the to the back page of Leadership, where we have Tuesday column with Abdurrauf Aliyu. Abdurrauf Aliyu, the Tuesday columnist, is writing on Beyond the Obvious Accusations. Beyond the Obvious Accusations. And in quote, Boko Haram did not materialize out of thin air, nor was it injected into Nigeria by a foreign hand. Of course, obviously, it's reacting to the trending report that you say that has been used to fund Islamist and banditry activities across the nations of the world. He said beyond the obvious accusations. Today's column with Abdurrauf Aliyu. And before we leave the back page, we'll just make a stop at Ghana Must Go. The news says Kannywood actor dumped NNPP for APC, and he says he's acting in new movie. Interesting. Well, for continuation of this, the column, the inside stories, the three on missing police rifles, and continuation of headline stories on leadership today. Don't forget to log on to the website www.leadership.ng. From leadership, we move to the next paper on our menu, and that is The Punch. The Punch says chaos crisis in Lagos. Chaos crisis in Lagos. DSS lawmakers bicker over daylight assembly eviction. Miranda refuses to resign. Obasa plots return. GAC to meet Tinubu, Sanwo-Olu's security changed. These are kickers to the leading story on the Punch newspaper this Tuesday. Chaos crisis in Lagos, similar to leadership's leading story also. AU endorses Nigeria as AFCFTA digital trade champion. Niger Republic bars Nigerians with ECOWAS passports. Suspected headers kill 19 in fresh Benue attack. Now begins probe as fresh Katsina accidental bombing kills 7. And beside the masthead of the Punch, states project a 3 trillion naira tax after reform bill's passage. States project 3 trillion naira tax after reform bill's passage. And atop the masthead of the Punch, Osun mayhem, ex-council chair, 6 others shot dead as Adeleke Oyetola's supporters war. Federal government plans 2.3 trillion naira electricity subsidy in 2025. It's also on this note we conclude review of front headline stories on the Punch. But just before we go, let's take a look at the story just beside the masthead of the Punch, where we have states project 3 trillion naira tax after reform bill's passage. Let's see what the story is saying. It says findings by the Punch show that state governments have set a tax revenue target of approximately 3.12 trillion naira for the 2025 fiscal year, marking an increase from the 2.01 trillion naira targeted in 2024 and the 1.95 trillion naira actually collected. This push for increased internally generated revenue (IGRO) comes as the federal government advances comprehensive tax reforms aimed at reducing the number of taxes from 60 to fewer than 10. These reforms are intended to simplify compliance, enhance revenue collection, and foster economic growth and may affect the state government's tax earnings. The 2025 target represents a 55.4% increase from the 2024 projection, underlining the state's aggressive drive to bolster internally generated revenue. These are snippets, excerpts from that also leading story, one of the leading stories on the Punch cover this Tuesday. States project 3 trillion naira tax after reform bills passage. This story continues on page 28, and for continuation of all the headline stories and inside stories in the Punch newspaper today, don't forget to log on to the website of the Punch newspaper, www.punchng.com. From the Punch, we move to the next paper on our menu this Tuesday, and that is Vanguard. Vanguard says 19 killed in fresh attack by herdsmen on Benue villages. 19 killed in fresh attack by herdsmen on Benue villages. 16 corpses dumped in river. 6 council was sacked. Locals flee to Jato Aka, cry for help as Elia threatens to dethrone monarchs supporting harboring criminals. These are riders to the leading story on Vanguard this Tuesday. 19 killed in fresh attack by herdsmen on Benue villages. And beneath that, Kanu raises alarm, alleges federal government's tricks to perpetually detain him. The story is on page 32 of Vanguard. We have the Governor Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN), Mr. Olayemi Cardoso left, and the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy (CME), Mr. Wale Edun, at the inaugural Economic Policy Conference for Emerging Market Economies organized by the Ministry of Finance Saudi Arabia and the International Monetary Fund (IMF) Regional Office in Riyadh at Ula, Saudi Arabia from February 16 to 17th of 2025. Still on Vanguard cover stories. Sports now. FIFA 2026 World Cup qualifiers. Eagles must beat Rwanda to remain in contention. Coming from Semitoje. From that, we move to the stories about the masthead of Vanguard. Economic diversification. Edun lists insecurity, poor infrastructure as case challenges. Economic diversification. Edun lists insecurity, poor infrastructure as key challenges. I won't stop praising OT. Wabara tells PDP. Anambra Labour Party ticket, the battle of old hands as Mogalu, Wonye, Ozigbo, Wonsu, Wimbe lock horns. Osun local government crisis, 8 killed as APC PDP clash. The story is on page 10 of Vanguard newspaper. And for continuation of these headline stories and inside stories, don't forget to log on to the website of Vanguard. Even as we move to the next paper we have on our lineup this Tuesday, and that is The Nation. The Nation newspaper says inflation drops to 24.48% in expected NBS January figures. Enhanced digital methodologies in line with global standards adopted. The average change in prices of goods and services over the past year is about 24.84%. 24.48%. This is a major highlight of the much expected report on the rebasing of the Consumer Price Index (CPI) scheduled to be released today by the National Bureau of Statistics (NBS). The rebasing of the CPI included important improvements to methodologies, expansion of the product categories or food varieties, and a new closer base year that allows the headline inflation rate to capture current economic changes. Reports obtained by the Nation from credible sources and independent surveys, which regularly accurately predict the inflationary trend, indicated a slowdown in the inflation rate. The rebased headlines inflation dropped from 34.80% in the pre-rebased period of December 2024 to 24.48% in January 2025. After the rebasing. That is a good one to Nigeria. Inflation drops to 24.48% in expected NBS January figures. Underneath that leading story, we have mayhem in Osun over control of councils. Many killed, injured. Governor shot secretariat. NEFON to terminate loan for dropouts. AU endorses Nigeria as AfCFTA digital trade champion. The story is on page 25 of The Nation. With that, we move to the stories above the masthead of The Nation. FCT minister rallies APC members. Party set for council poll. Investors scramble for Nigeria's assets. Economy peaks on liquidity. ACF hails establishment development commissions. Court stops CBN orders from withholding council funds. Court stops CBN orders from withholding council funds. That also concludes the review of front headline stories on The Nation this Tuesday. For continuation of these headline stories, don't forget to log into The Nation's website. From that Nation, we move to the last paper we have on our menu this Tuesday, and that is The Guardian. We have the picture of the Lagos State Speaker atop on her chair, and the chair is wobbly. It's being taken away is being held by by a hand trying to shake her from that chair. And for the story caption for that picture, we have Lagos Assembly crisis worsens, reveals deeper cracks in state's power dynamics. This story is on page 6 of The Guardian. Of course, the picture illustration illustrates that story. We have the Speaker of the State's House of Assembly. That is the bitter leadership tussle at the Lagos House of Assembly boiled over yesterday, demystifying long-held notions that the ruling All Progressive Congress-led government in the state is glued together by a sturdy and coherent political mechanism. Tension erupted at the assembly as officers of the Department of State Services (DSS) stormed the complex, taking strategic positions and disrupting legislative activities, including a scheduled plenary section. The invasion allegedly aimed at reinstating ousted Speaker Mudashiru Obasa left lawmakers, staff, and visitors in shock and triggered widespread condemnation. Reports had quickly emerged that the DSS officers were at the assembly to enforce the return of Obasa by pressuring the sitting Speaker Mojisola Meranda to resign. This was 35 days after Obasa was removed as Speaker, and the House had continued to function, albeit amid the fallout from the removal. Of course, we have that leading story today on The Guardian. Lagos Assembly crisis worsens, reveals deeper cracks in state's power dynamics. Like the illustration I just pointed out, we have the picture of Miranda sitting on the chair, which is being wobbled by a hand, ostensibly by Obasa. Beneath that leading story, Labour Party denies zoning 2027 presidential ticket, refuse Igbo presidency claims, is a news that runs on page 6 of The Guardian. Power outage, UCH resident doctors embark on indefinite strike. The story is on page 2 of The Guardian. Power outage, UCH resident doctors embark on indefinite strike. Nigerians show approval of Tinubu's performance via defection to APC. MAN, that is Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, decries rising cost of alternative energy over regulation, policy inconsistencies, is a story that runs on page 3 of The Guardian. Labour lawmakers Obi react as NAFDAC sees 3,000 Lagos shops. And lastly, on the cover of The Guardian this Tuesday, over 20,000 communities without electricity nationwide, says REA. Is on that note we conclude review of front headline stories on The Guardian this Tuesday. And also don't forget to log on to the website of The Guardian for more and continuation of the headline stories, www.guardian.ng. Well, viewers, it's also on this note to conclude today's Inside Nigeria, brought to you on Leadership Television. Don't forget to stay put, join us still on this same station for news on the hour. My name is Winifred Webo. Tomorrow is another day for another fresh edition of the program. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the